What do you call a movement that worships a man who breaks every rule they claim to stand for? That's the paradox. The MAGA Paradox. American conservatism once rested on three pillars: small government, fiscal responsibility, and Christian morality. These weren't just slogans, they were supposed to be guiding truths. Conservatives warned against overspending. They preached balanced budgets. They argued for limited government power, and they insisted that character mattered more than charisma. Then came Donald Trump, a man who shattered every one of those pillars. And instead of rejecting him, the movement bent its knees. Under Trump, the national debt didn't shrink, it exploded. Trillions were added, deficits soared, even in years of growth. Republicans who once decried debt as theft from future generations fell silent. The same leaders who crucified Obama for stimulus spending cheered when Trump handed out massive tax cuts with no plan to pay for them. Suddenly, the burden of debt didn't matter because Trump was the one writing the checks. Principles became tools, not rules, weapons, not truths. For decades, conservatives preached that character counts. They condemned leaders for adultery, dishonesty, or corruption. They demanded moral examples, citing faith, integrity, and humility. Then Trump arrived, bragging about adultery, boasting about assault, breaking vows, flaunting lies, and turning sin into spectacle. Instead of disqualifying him, evangelical leaders declared him God's chosen vessel. Character was no longer a measure of leadership. It was negotiable. The same people who demanded purity from pastors now cheered a man who mocked the Sermon on the Mount. Those who once claimed America was a Christian nation now exalted a leader who treated compassion, forgiveness, and humility as weaknesses. Conservatives once argued that government should be restrained, that the Constitution was a shield against abuse. Under Trump, government became a weapon. Justice departments investigated enemies, critics were smeared, journalists were labeled the enemy of the people. Political opponents weren't rivals, they were criminals. When Trump suggested using the military against protesters, many cheered. When families were separated at the border, they justified it as law and order. The party of small government became the party of the strongman. Here lies the heart of the paradox. If Trump violates every principle they claim to hold, why do they still follow? Because MAGA is no longer about policy. It's not even about politics, it's about prophecy. Trump promised a revolution, a storm, a reset, a world-changing moment that would sweep away enemies and restore glory. Every scandal, every failure, every delay only deepens the hunger for the day justice finally arrives. This is no longer a political movement. It is a theology of grievance. Trump is not a president to them. He is a prophet. In this faith, loyalty is sacred. Doubt is sin. Questioning Trump is betrayal. Critics are exiled, shamed, destroyed. Even those who once mocked him now bow at his rallies. Contradictions don't weaken the movement. They strengthen it. The worse Trump behaves, the more they need him to be right. It is easier to twist reality than to admit betrayal. Easier to sacrifice values than confront the truth. The paradox traps them. The deeper the transgressions, the tighter the grip. Religions survive on prophecy, but failed prophecies are dangerous. When the storm doesn't come, believers face a choice: abandon the prophet or double down. History shows what happens. Cults rarely abandon their Messiah. They invent new timelines, excuses, revelations. MAGA follows the same pattern. The failed revolution of 2020 became a stolen election. The failed red wave of 2022 was sabotage. Every defeat isn't proof of weakness, it's evidence of conspiracy. The prophecy always shifts, yet it never dies. So what is this, politics or something darker, more dangerous? A political party can evolve, adapt, recover. A cult cannot. A cult never admits error, never tolerates dissent, never compromises. It only demands obedience. MAGA shows all the signs of a cult, a single charismatic leader elevated beyond criticism, a mythology of grievance that explains every failure as betrayal, a theology of loyalty where faith outweighs truth, and a prophecy of salvation that never arrives, but never dies. The paradox is complete. The more Trump betrays their values, the more they worship him. The more he contradicts their beliefs, the more he defines them. The more obvious the failures, the fiercer the devotion. Because if he falls, their faith falls. If he is exposed as a fraud, then so are they. And admitting it all, would destroy everything. Ask yourself, is this still a political movement, or is it a religion without redemption, a prophecy without fulfillment, a cult waiting for a miracle that will never come? That is the MAGA paradox.